But I was thinking, what about each and every individual that is here today? I didn't think about you specifically, but I thought about our community specifically. And I said, there is something that everybody can do in our community. And as I was listening to the statistics that Tina shared, about 900 reports were made, and 10% of those, which ended up being enough warranted cases to actually have to go into foster care situations. There were 90 foster care situations. Then I heard about the 3,000 hours that the Family Resource Center employees put together to help 142 families. I thought about this story, and if you've been around me long enough or seen me or heard from me, I am a storyteller. I was an educator for a couple of years, and the last couple of years that I was an educator for GED students, 16 to 24-year-olds, they had enough of public education. So I had to come at them from a different angle, and the way that I came with them is telling them stories. So that's been my calling card when I'm asked to speak. So I'm going to share a story with you about a father that I met a couple of years ago. And there was a father, and he had been married. As soon as he got out of college, he was married, and they had one child. And with that one child that they had, the wife started experiencing some difficulties and decided that she no longer wanted to be in that marriage, and she no longer wanted to be a mom. And we know people or have heard people who have experienced some things like this. So the father said, hey, I want to stand up and I'll take full custody of our child. So the father took 100% custody of their child. He was the breadwinner of the family, so he worked 40, 50, 60 hours a week, but he said, I can make this happen and being a dad. So what he did is every day he did something with his child. He would go to work. He would drop his son off to school. He would go to work, and then he would figure out, what are me and my son going to do after school? So every day the little boy was looked in expectancy to find something for him and his dad to do. Nevertheless, this one particular day, the dad had a project that he had to do, and he had been at work for about 10 hours. And he said, it's time for me to go home. I have to pick up my child from after school care. And he was like, but I got to find something for my son to do, because I'm going to have to take some work home. So he was looking around the room, and he was like, oh goodness, here's a magazine. And what I'll do is I'll take this magazine and I'll rip it up and I'm gonna put it in my pocket. And when I get home, it'll take about 30, 45 minutes for my son to put it together. So I'll set my son to the side, let him put together this puzzle, and then I'll work for 30 to 45 minutes. And when we all get finished, we'll be good. How many of us as parents or caregivers have thought that if I put my child to work for 30 or 45 minutes, it's gonna work? I'm over here like looking at Heather, because our kids are in the same class together at Montessori. And I'm thinking, look, I know Parker when I think about that. So I'm thinking, Annalise, that probably doesn't work for Annalise either. But, we've all thought that as parents. And so just as we're thinking, the father was like, okay, I got my son settled down and he's going to do some work, and I'm going to sit down and do some work. And as soon as the father was getting in motion, the little boy came and said, Daddy, I'm finished with what you wanted me to do. And the father was like, there's no way that you can be finished with this puzzle. And the little boy was like, Daddy, I promise you I am. So the father said, okay, come and take me to the kitchen table. And the father went to the kitchen table, and in excitement, he saw the boy indeed was finished with the puzzle. And he said, honey, son, how in the world were you finished with the puzzle of the world? Because he ripped it up in shreds. And he said, easy, Daddy. All I did was turn the puzzle pieces over, and it was a man there. And all I realized is, as soon as you put man together, the whole world came together. And that's what I wanted to talk to us about as I thought about the 142 families that the Family Resource Center staff worked with. They put one man together at a time. They put one family back together at a time, and they're still working to put their family and the man back together at a time. And as I stand here and look at all of you guys, and I think about the history of the Exchange Club and all that you do together, you guys and ladies have put men back together one at a time. And so I was listening to Larry, and Larry said, you know, what more can I do? And I'm not saying his words verbatim, but that's what I'm leaving with you today as I prepare to take my seat in a little bit. What more can you do as a community?